Okay, so let's take a look at Alan's photo restoration project. Oh my goodness, that is a very messed up picture. Um, wow, it looks to me like it was printed on some kind of textured, paper, something that had like um, a linen kind of effect. I could be wrong there, but it definitely looks like the paper itself already had some texture before all the folds and the emulsion chipping off and everything. I'm going to just take a moment to read your statement here. Oops, sorry, I moved ahead there and I wasn't quite ready. Yeah, I'm reading here that you're saying the picture was small, so you didn't have. I'm sorry, I keep doing that. Um, okay, you're saying here the picture was a challenge because it was small. You didn't have too many pixels. In that case, you're right. There's only so much you can do with a small picture. I do recommend it. It just kind of depends on what kind of scanner you have access to. We have a really fancy one at the Pecan campus for STC that it can scan up to, goodness, I want to say like maybe 3,200 pixels per inch, maybe more. And so with a really small photograph like this, generally 12 to 1,600 pixels per inch is plenty. It's going to make a huge file, maybe even too big, but it's the more pixels you have, the easier it is to work with. The bigger the original photograph, the easier it is to work with. They didn't have pixels back then, but there was still a type of resolution. And, it all comes down to the bigger area that you have to capture the image, the higher quality the image is going to be. That's why with the digital SLRs, they're making such a big deal about the size of the sensor. It's kind of like the equivalent to the size of various films that they would have used back in those days. And generally, the bigger the negative, um, the more light information you're able to capture, and therefore the more detail and that you have. But that said, let's just kind of move along, and this looks pretty good. Let's see, I'm going to just read your notes here real quick. Yeah, I think you did a pretty good job. Whoops, sorry. I think you did a pretty good job with getting rid of those marks. You had quite a few challenges in front of you on this one. In addition to the fact that it was a very small image, it was also a very textured piece of paper to begin with, and so what's going to happen is, unfortunately, even though you're able to get rid of some of those tears and wrinkles or whatnot, you also are losing that very important canvas-like um, quality here. My first thought when I looked at this, my eye just kind of went right to the dark area here. Partly, I think it's because it's placed low on the screen and I can't really see the bottom of it, but it's possible that this might be a little dark. Let me just take a look. But yeah, yeah, I'd really like to be able to see the bottom of it, even just a little bit of space between that and the edge. It just helps me feel the balance a little bit better of the picture. But I think it got a little dark up in here. That's easy enough to do. It's, two things you can do for that, of course, is not push it quite so dark, lighten it up. Or you could possibly afford to lose a little bit of it, like say from about where my cursor is on up. And you might want to even think about actually exaggerating the lightness. You can see how it's lighter around her head, and that could probably be exaggerated just a little bit to get her to stand out from the background a little bit more. That fold that you had, yeah, I mean that's really well concealed. I mean, yes, we do have this problem with the texture here, and I can definitely see that a lot of this had to do with the low resolution. There's just so much you can do, but I would say that the color of the dress looks pretty good. If it's a little vibrant, that's easy enough to tone down. Hopefully you put that color on a separate layer, and between either reducing the transparency, increasing the transparency of that layer, or playing around with one of your blending modes, that could maybe give you the effect that you were looking for. But I think you did pretty well with what you had to work with. Let's go on to the next one. Okay, I'm going to just take a moment to read. We've got a family photo here that's very, very red. It seems like we've pretty much lost our blues completely. Yeah, this is a little bit of a problem here. When you've got a mark right on somebody's facial feature, that's that's a little tricky. Okay. Yeah, and this is also an issue. You're dealing with an odd shape, an odd shaped picture frame, and unfortunately, cropping it into a rectangular format isn't really an option, because what's going to happen is you're going to cut off people's feet. And, if you were to start cutting this right here, where, it starts being straight, well, you're gonna decapitate a lot of the people in the picture. Now, one thing you could do, and it probably would not be that difficult, is instead of thinking about cropping, you could create a rectangular box around this. Just bring the edge of the box to, touching the lowest point on the picture here, and so that you'd have corners here, 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 and here, and then use a content aware fill or patch tool, or combination of the of all of them, the patch and the clone. That you do have some plain empty areas here that you can work with, and since it is kind of just the background, and it's supposed to just kind of fade back into the into the picture. um, it doesn't need to be very, very detailed. You're not going to draw too much attention to it, but let's just see what you did. Okay, the color looks a lot better, and I'm glad to see that I'm critiquing these just as I see them. So, I don't really have any understanding of what you've done, but I can see that you actually did fix the strange format of the picture, and you've done a very, very good job with that. I'm just going to take a look here and read about your, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think the floor looks fine. Like I was saying in the previous, the floor and the wall are subordinate to everything else that's going on. It needed a lot more blue and green, and you certainly did bring that into the picture, and took care of that kind of overall magenta look that it has. I'm not real sure. I think that it's possible that you could have scanned this one in at a higher resolution as well, but again, just kind of keeping in mind you've only got the resolution to work with that you get right there, and so there's only so much you can do with the original quality of the photograph, but it looks very pixelated to me along here, and I'll check your file and see what your pixel dimensions are on this. But just as I was saying in the other one, even if the picture itself is small, you should still scan it in at the highest possible resolution that you can. And of course, I'm sure that you're limited. I know you guys don't have scanners at home that are, the professional quality like the one that we have at school. There are services around here that'll scan professionally for you and give you that really high resolution. I'm not sure. I don't think it's too unreasonable in terms of cost, but if this is something that you're thinking about, doing as a side job or as a job or something, it would be well worth your investment to get a good quality scanner. Um, or the other thing you can do is just take a really good photograph of it with your camera. And that's, whoops, sorry, didn't mean to end that there. And that's what can really make things easier, because those jaggedy pixel edges are such a problem. We could probably bring out a little bit. Of course, the thing that's important are the faces. The feet aren't super, super important, but we would still like for them to separate from the floor just a little bit. And it probably would be worth the effort to mask out the background and bring out some highlights in the feet on here. Did a good job with this. It's like retouching stuff like this is very, very hard, especially when you don't have a lot of pixels to work with. A really, really well trained artist, who's had a lot of drawing and painting experience, can probably go in and fix that. But it kind of comes down to more than just having Photoshop skills. It also has to do with, that ability to reconstruct a mouth that, an artist would only learn to do from, really studying and drawing a lot of the human figure. Um, but yes, very, very, very good work. I hope my suggestions were helpful.